Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. Today is Tuesday, December 14th. Back from a little hiatus here. Had to take a little 2-week break. Timmy here got married, but we're back into fantasy football. Playoffs just now started. You snuck into playoffs in our league somehow. Huge week. I know some people are still, like I'm in one league that's playoffs aren't starting for another 2 weeks.
You just have top 14.
So,
okay. If you play in a league where you play the last week of the season, get out of that league right now.
It's terrible. So, so it'll be interesting to see. But big week this week for a lot of people. A lot of players who got in didn't get in. Big news around the week. Today we found out the Rams had to shut down the facility because of COVID. Yeah, they're the only ones right now, right? Or was there talk with another one?
The Browns. A lot of the Browns offensive players went into COVID protocol.
So that's something to keep an eye out for going forward, especially like this first week of playoffs. If you're someone who has like a Cooper Kupp who is more than likely a league winner for a lot of people, and you're going to maybe not have him this week, that's not great, especially going against a Seattle team that isn't fantastic. So you got that. You got the Browns going out as well, so like Nick Chubb and everything, something to keep an eye out for. Injury status-wise, you got Lamar, low ankle sprain, questionable this week. DJ Moore has a knee injury. He's day-to-day. I think it's hamstring more than knee. And then you got
Damian Harris, hamstring, limited.
Yep. There was McLaurin. He was in concussion protocol this week.
Hopkins had an MRI on his leg after he came up hobbling.
Was that with his leg? I thought it was all because of his head.
No, it was his leg.
A lot of injuries kind of happen in here late, and COVID related. It's something that's you got to keep an eye out for. It might hit late, kind of thing, and ruin any type of run you have. But really, I think like injury wise, that's kind of it for right now. I don't remember seeing anybody other than like. I know Lamar's day-to-day, but I feel like we'll probably see him out this week, which hurts fantasy owners if you have them. I don't know, Jalen Hurts coming off a bye. I'm curious to see if he's going to play or not, but just something to keep an eye out for moving forward, especially if you're in that playoff push. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the booms and busts for this week, starting with quarterbacks. The big booms for this week was leading the way with Josh Allen against Tampa Bay. Put up 36.2 points. Kind of had a super late push. It was 24-3, I think, at half. Came back. They went to OT, lost on a big play at the end of the game. But Josh Allen put up 308 yards passing, 2 touchdowns through the air, and then 1 interception. And then he added 1 on the ground. He had 12 rushes for 109 yards, which is crazy for a quarterback, but they mentioned that he is their running back. He's the only option they have, but Josh Allen against the Bucs put up huge numbers, and I feel like this is kind of what you have going forward. He kind of steps up in these big games where he's playing better defenses, and that's kind of what the remaining of the schedule is going to look like too. Yeah,
I don't know if it was the end of the first half or in the second half, their first rushing attempt by a running back was a fake punt. Brady with a run. So they're not running the ball at all. They don't have any running backs, Moss, Singletary, nothing's going on there. So he threw for 54 times. He had 12 carries on his own. So it's pretty much a Josh Allen show in Buffalo. Offense runs through him. They're passing the ball. Defense knows they're passing the ball. And, they have some good defenses coming up. So they got to figure it out with Carolina. I think Carolina's defense...
It's down for sure.
It's down because they had some bad...
Gilmore got hurt. They're just not looking as great. So
and then they got New England after that. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this up by just throwing the ball the whole time or Josh Allen running.
I think they're going to ride the stretch. They're 7-5, I believe. So you're looking at a team that's making a push for playoffs, getting back in the AFC top picture here. You got a big opponent in 2 weeks with the Patriots, but... Josh Allen, it's like no surprise to see him here. He's the number 2 quarterback. Then the second highest boom for this week was actually the number 1 quarterback, which is Tom Brady, 32.1 points. He had 363 yards passing. He only had 2 passing touchdowns. And and then he added 16 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown as well. So this number's how long was that last touchdown pass? Like it was like 54 yards. Or
yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, it's been crazy. Fournette even had a rushing touchdown on this. It was a crazy offensive game. Tom Brady looking great at the end of the season, going against the New Orleans team next week that's actually given up a lot of points to quarterbacks. So I expect to see some kind of game just like this next week. But yeah, their Bucs look great. Probably, I would say the best team, maybe besides the Packers in the NFC. Probably those two. That's what's going to come down to. So
Cardinals, I think they're good. It just I don't know. Kyler Murray we saw kind of a little bit last night. He's hit or miss. You don't really know what kind of Kyler Murray you're going to get week in and week out, especially when you played a banged up Rams team and then a COVID Rams team as well, and then they lost. So I don't really know what to look forward to. You just know Tom Brady's going to continue to put up numbers like this, especially the last 4 games of the year. Playoff push, that number 1 seed's becoming on the line. I think they're number 2 or 3 right now. I'm pretty sure it's Packers, Cardinals, Bucs. So that's something to keep an eye out for.
I think the Cardinals are 3 now with that loss.
Was it that one?
I'm pretty sure it's that.
Got jumped or they stayed at 2. I know the Packers are number 1 right now.
Yeah, I think Bucs are 2 now, and then the Cardinals were 3.
So just something to keep an eye. Like this, is something Brady's going to do week in and week out. Not really shocked. And then the third one kind of completed a trifecta against the Bears. Started out super slow for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers here, 29.6 points, 341 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He was playing at a different level in that second half. Had to come back and I think the first 19 minutes of the game, Devonta Adams had maybe like 1 catch, 12 yards, and then just all of a sudden had 7 for 108 yards and a touchdown. So I think you're going to see late in the year, you're going to see Rodgers start to get into more of a rhythm like this, and I think it's going to be even more effective because of the fact that they are able to run the ball as efficient as they are. But yeah, like you were saying, little technical difficulties here. Rodgers running the football, or the Packers running the football as efficiently as they are, is going to be a game changer for them. It's something you got to keep an eye out for and look with them. I think Rodgers is going to continue to grow and be more successful, especially if they can run the ball like they're able to with Dillon and Jones.
Yeah, I know Rodgers after the game said that toe's really starting to bother him now. Yeah. He's not going to be sitting out, but having to rely on that run game a little bit more, I think, is what's going to happen. Between A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, first, second down, and then those third and short later in those games, Dillon's just going to run over people. Yeah. He's so big. He's so good, too. Like, he just keeps going. He can find those holes and then just runs right. He's fast and explosive. So I don't see how the Packers are going to be losing anytime soon. That defense is still pretty good. They've been keeping them in games as well. So Aaron Rodgers can just score touchdowns. They're the slowest team in offense. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it until the other day. But they just run so slow, and they just they know exact play they want to run. Aaron Rodgers reads the defense and can just do whatever he wants. It's crazy.
They put up 45 points this week, and it's like the more you watch it, the more it's like, oh, it's 100% true. He's always taking the play clock down to 2 to 3 seconds, no matter what, 1 second. I just think Rodgers and the Packers kind of, from what it seemed like when they were talking about it on TV, is their terms are kind of back on the good side. They're not really fighting as much as they were or anything. So, to me, that's something that's going to be...
It's hard to fight when you're in first place.
Well, that, and you realize if you're the GM and you have Aaron Rodgers right now, what are you doing? Like, why are you making...
To be honest with you, like, their team might be better next year if Rodgers and Devonta Adams can come back. It's going to be...
Both of them, you can add another wide receiver weapon. Like, I know Odell was mentioning... And Odell is nothing great, but if you give him a guy like Devonta on the other side, he's going to be good.
Yep.
He'll be a top 10 guy. But yeah, to me, it's just... Rodgers, I think you're right. They're only going to continue to grow. You get Tunyon back next year and everything, but he rounds out the booms for us this week at quarterback. Just huge performances by the 3 at the top. Kind of do anything. And then honorable mention, I'm just going to throw out Taysom Hill here. Passing ball-wise, nothing, but really controlled the game on the ground. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Just what you kind of expect.
Yeah, and one at the end where I think a lot of people wanted him just to take a knee to keep the clock run out, and he just went
50 yards. I think it's something crazy like that. So that's our booms for quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and slide into the running backs here. Leading the way is Dalvin Cook, 37.2 points, 205 yards rushing, 17 receiving yards, 1 reception, and then he had 2 touchdowns to add on top of it. This was a weird game. We came into the week not knowing what's Calvin's situation, what's it going to look like if he does play. I thought it was going to be Calvin's playing, he runs the ball 2-3 times, re-injures his shoulder, Madison's back in for the rest of the game, and then but it ended up being 7 rushes, 108 yards in the first quarter and a half.
Yep.
So really kind of took over this game. Hopefully it's something, if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, it's something that continues to go. Pittsburgh's defense just looked terrible, but Minnesota almost blew it. But yeah, Dalvin Cook led the way for all running backs this week. Huge performance by him.
Yeah, it was so frustrating if you're playing Dalvin Cook. You saw the news that he's playing, and you're like, oh, he's probably going to play, but probably not going to play a whole lot. We see that so much. And then you see him get in the game, and it's just like breakaway run, not even being touched.
No.
It was so tough to watch, but just a great game by him on Thursday night. That Pittsburgh defense is just, they're not the old Pittsburgh defense. They're really letting the run go, and Vikings took advantage of it with Dalvin Cook. Didn't really need Madison for this week.
No, and that's Dalvin Cook looked better than I think he has most of all year. He looked faster. I know he had huge holes to run through, but
yeah, I think this was his highest scoring game yet.
It was, and I think this is, if you're an owner of him, you're kind of hoping to see that it continues this way. Because if the Vikings want any chance of making playoffs, it's going to go through
It has to go through Dalvin Cook, yep.
So, he's our number 1 running back. Number 2 running back of the week. Kind of a surprise guy for this year. It has helped that Edmonds has been out. But James Conner put up 33.5 points and is solidifying himself as the number 1 back in Arizona. And I think even when Edmonds comes back, I think he's expected back this week. I don't see why it would change in Arizona. You got James Conner, who had he only had 31 rush yards, but he had 94 receiving yards, 9 receptions, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he was making some great plays receiving the ball. He made a couple one-handed grabs and everything. It just seems like this guy that the offense is trusting more, and he's just being utilized a lot more in this offense, and I think he's only going to continue to grow with them.
Yeah, I think for James Conner, I would say he's probably the player I was the most wrong about, because James Conner at Pittsburgh, he did okay, but I didn't think he was going to be great at all. They had Edmonds, he's the catcher out of the backfield, and they like to throw the ball a lot. But James Conner is a good receiving back, and no one had any idea. So there's really no need for Edmonds right now because Connor's a better runner. He can catch the ball just as well and he can run routes just as well.
Yeah.
So good for James Conner, finding a great home, great spot for him. So I think going forward, he's the number 1 running back there, and he should be. He's done so much better than Edmonds when Edmonds is on the field.
That's why it's a little rebirth from how his last year in Pittsburgh. We saw stints of him being a productive back in Pittsburgh. But now with Arizona, he's really showing his strides and getting back to where he was 2 or 3 years ago. Not like last year was a really bad year for him.
Honestly, I think he was injured, and that offensive line was so bad you couldn't do anything.
And Pittsburgh just loves to throw the football.
Yep.
So to me, it's just I think James Conner is finding his space, and I think it helps having Kyler and as many weapons as they do out there. So he had a huge week, and I think. How many touchdowns does he have? 14?
He has 14.
So, and I'm pretty sure it leads the NFL right now. So, expect him to continue to do that. Huge performance. I'll be interested to see. They play Detroit this week and Indy in Dallas. So, really kind of 3 straight weeks where he can be productive in the running game. So, someone to keep an eye out for the next 2 weeks, and he could be a league winner as well going forward. So, number 3 here is Rashad Penny for Seattle against Houston, 137 rushing yards, 29.8 fantasy points. Just really had a great day. 2 rushing touchdowns. Not much more you can ask for a guy was the 3rd string running back in I think he's kind of moved his way in front of Alex Collins right now.
Yeah, I think Rashad Penny's always been the better running back. He's just always hurt.
Yeah.
So with Carson being out for the year, I think unless he gets hurt, Penny's going to be the number one running back. Alex Collins has had his shot multiple times and just does nothing with it, really. So I think this is where the Seahawks are going to take the next step. Give Penny the ball, make him the starter. So I think if you're hurting for running back, especially with COVID happening, and you're going to need one, I think Penny's a good spot. They are playing the Rams, who gave up a lot of yards to Connor this week. So I think Penny can have the same kind of game.
Yeah. And that's what it's a number one back, someone you can pick up and just kind of hope that he does this again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how much can you really put into the Seattle offense, but you just take your risk and ride him out. Honorable mention here, playoff Lenny, getting ready to make that push again to top back. He's probably one of the, outside Connor, surprising me the most.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the second most wrong I've been about a player.
Somebody keep I don't know. He's not only running the ball really well, he's receiving, and he's just doing everything that the Bucs need from him. Ronald Jones kind of man of the pass.
Yeah.
So
I think we talked before the season started, and we both were thinking it was going to be Ronald Jones.
I thought Ronald Jones was kind of take over, but he fumbled one, and that's that. Yep. So that's our top three running backs. Booms of the week. Let's go to our booms for wide receivers. Leading the way, kind of where he was last year, Devonta Adams. 34.1 points, 10 receptions, 121 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, like we talked about a little bit earlier. First 19 minutes, 18 minutes, non-existent, but then all of a sudden just poured it on the Bears. And you just can't guard this guy one-on-one. His routes are too good. I feel like he's more, like Kupp is consistently probably putting up 20 points plus, but Adams is the most dangerous guy because he can put up weeks like this at any point. So, to me, this is no shocker. Something you're going to continue to see, I think, for the rest of the year, especially with the Packers making the push for the number one seed.
That's the thing about, I think, with Kupp, his kind of game is kind of throughout the whole game. Mm-hmm. Adams will not be there for a quarter or two, but then he puts up the same amount of numbers as Cooper Kupp does.
Yep.
He's fourth in the league in targets this year with 128. I know Packers really don't have anyone else, but that's the thing. Like, they don't have anyone else, but he still gets open, still gets the ball, still puts up numbers, still wins.
Yep.
It's crazy how it works, but there's not really much to say that he's number one. There's just every single week, top three.
I feel like he is the best receiver in the league. I think the one benefic. I cannot. What am I trying to say? Beneficiing. I think that's the word.
Maybe.
I'm so sorry. Whatever. Is Cooper Kupp. He's the one who's getting everything based off the system he's in with Matthew Stafford and the Breakfast Club that they're running and over there in L.A. It's just Devonta Adams is clear-cut number one. And then for fantasy-wise, Cooper Kupp has been a monster because, like you said, he had 13 catches, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. No matter what they do, everything goes through Cooper Kupp. And it is what he's just putting up huge numbers. I think he has 12 or 13 touchdowns this year for a wide receiver, which is insane. I don't know.
He's the first wide receiver to have 100 catches and 10 touchdowns in 12 games.
Yeah,
first wide receiver to ever do that.
To me, it's just like you said, Devonta Adams, he's a deep ball threat. He can do pretty much anything. Cooper Kupp's more just consistently, he's going to pick you up.
Yeah, he's not getting those 50, 60-yard touchdowns like Devonta Adams, but he runs perfect routes every time. You can't cover him, and then Matt Stafford just knows where he is at all times and can get him the ball.
They move him around so much, too, so... he, I think, is probably you're starting next to his name as a league winner.
Yep.
Along with Debo, who has been putting up huge numbers too. You're looking at 4th, 5th round guys who have just been balling out. So, Cooper Kupp, I don't think he's been outside the top 3, maybe once. And I was like, when he played Seattle, he had like 14 points or something. So, I think you're going to continue to see him top 3, top 4 every week, no matter what.
Every week.
That was our number 2. Number 3 guy here is Tyler Lockett. 5 catches, 142 yards, 1 touchdown, 29.2 fantasy points. This guy, I feel like he's kind of overtaken DK, and it's just because Russ and him, I don't know what it is about Lockett, but Russ will be sitting there, and then all of a sudden he throws up this huge lollipop pass, and of course,
there's Lockett.
Tyler Lockett, wide open, nobody around him there to receive it for a touchdown of 60+, almost weekly, I feel like, anymore.
Yeah, Lockett hasn't been a big boom guy, but he also hasn't been that big of a bust. Had 4 points in Week 10, but after that he scored more than 12 points each week.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit more consistent, especially with Russell Wilson back in there. He's getting close to 100 yards a game, a touchdown last 2 games. So he's really, him and Wilson are the ones that are on the right page. DK is just like nowhere to be found. I think they're almost forcing him to get the ball because he does throw a fit when he doesn't get it, which I think people think
he has the right to.
He has the right to at some point. Like people with Odell just hasn't been good for a while. DK can show that if you give him the ball, even when he's double covered, he can still catch it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a point, but there's also you can't force it.
Nope.
So I think that's where Lockett's hasn't been forced. It's more of like have a better connection right now.
It's got to be developed more to where it's working into both of them and not just one over the other. Because I feel like there's never a game where they both just have days. It's just one or the other. And it's tough if you're an owner of either one of them. Right now, Lockett's kind of being the one who's getting most of what the Seattle's doing. So something to keep an eye for. They do play the Rams, who didn't have Jalen, and I feel like they won't have him on Sunday because of the COVID protocols. But that is our booms of the week here for wide receivers. One guy I want to throw out there that's number 4, Hunter Renfro. We talked about him sneakily making his way into the top 15 wide receivers this year. It helps with
losing
Ruggs
and Waller being out. Yep.
But you want to talk about a guy who runs some crazy routes that are just efficient as all can be. And if you pick him up, he's probably a waiver guy more than likely, or you drafted him late just because of
you could have Devonta Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Renfro on one team. That's a championship team right there.
Yeah, so especially with Waller being out and everything. So wide receivers there. We'll just go over some tight ends here. Kind of shocker. Travis Kelce did not find his way on this list. I think he only had 4 points.
Yep, disappointing week.
But George Kittle has been a monster the last 3 weeks after coming back from injury. He's the number 3 tight end after being out for 3 weeks. But the last 2 weeks, 41, 34 points coming back. He is just, I feel like he's finally figuring it out. He had 181 yards last week, 151 yards this week, and 1 touchdown. Offense runs through George Kittle. Whenever they need a first down, they go to Kittle.
Yep. If you take out that week 12, he's been the number 1 tight end since week 9. 27 targets the past 2 games, 150 yards in each game with at least a touchdown. Don't see that stopping because right now I think Debo's a little beat up, and their running backs, they're not being able to run the ball like they want to. So
George Mitchell out,
with George Kittle is that guy, and he's making those catches, staying healthy finally, and that's why was drafted in the second round, probably second and third round.
Yeah. You look at his next matchups. He's got Atlanta, Tennessee, and then if you make it to championship week,
you got Houston,
LA to round out the season. So good matchups. I know he's just, I don't know. He was one part of that top 3. Kittle, Waller, Kelce, and then this guy I think has worked his way into it. Mark Andrews, 11 receptions, 115 yards with a touchdown. With Lamar going out, I feel like it was a huge safety blanket for Huntley, and it's something I think you're going to continue to see if Lamar's in or if Lamar's out. It's just Mark Andrews, I think, has worked his way above Darren Waller. Darren Waller, I think, athletic ability is much higher.
He's almost like him. I would compare him to like a Kyle Pitts, to where he's almost running wide receiver routes.
Yeah,
but he's just been hurt, and the team's just been banged up. So
terrible. They run, So, but Mark Andrews just, I don't know.
He's been a beast. Number 1 tight end this year. Took over Travis Kelce.
Kelce this week. Yeah, Kelce's had some down weeks the last couple weeks.
And especially when your team scored 40 points and you only have 4 points, that's hard to watch.
Defense was just
their defense went for 30, I think.
And then the next guy here, Dawson Knox, 19 points, 7 catches, 60 yards, a touchdown. When he came back, he's not going to do a whole lot. His 3rd highest receiving total. but Josh Allen loves to look for him in the red zone, and that's all you can ask for out of a tight end. But yeah, so he had a huge week. I think he is a tight end that can easily put up 15 a week just because of touchdowns, and I think they're maybe going to try to get him a little bit more involved in the offense. So Dawson Knox there is our number 3, and that's going to round out our booms for the week. Let's go ahead and check out some of the busts now. Starting at quarterback, we had number 1 bust for this week. You can throw Lamar, but he got hurt, so I wouldn't put that on him. You can't really predict for that, so clearly he would be your number 1 bust player. I think the number 2, if you're looking at starter-wise, is Dak Prescott here at 9.9 points, 211 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The team's winning, but he just does not look right. He had the last 4 weeks, he's had 1 game over 15 points. He's gone 2, 25, 11, and 9. And you're looking at his next matchup against Giants, Washington, Arizona. All games he should produce high numbers with. But you just don't know how confident you can be in his ability to go.
You want to know how healthy he is. Mm-hmm. Like, is he beat up a little bit, or is he? I really don't know. That defense keeping in the game. Parsons is a beast on that defensive side, and luckily he has a good running back and wide receivers to kind of help him out a little bit. But they should be blowing out teams like the football team, but they're keeping him games because the offense can't do anything.
You almost could say could have lost that game. So I don't know. He's been a huge disappointment. He's had great weeks, but it's just an inconsistency that's been a killer, especially right now when you need him to be at his best. So number 1 there is Dak. Number 2, we have Derek Carr. 10.5 fantasy points, 263 yards passing, 1 touchdown passing, and then 1 interception. This team is just not good. I don't know. Derek Carr, I can't trust him.
I think this happens every year. At the beginning of the year, you're like, oh, Derek Carr could be a starting quarterback.
He's a top 5 in yards.
In the NFL. And then at the end of the season, you're just like, Raiders need to get a new quarterback. Like, he just doesn't make the right plays. Just really, it's tough watching him sometimes.
Well, that's what you look at his first 3 weeks. 26, 26, 21. 300 yards plus in every game with 2 touchdowns. Last 3 weeks, 10, 12. And then he had 23 against Dallas. And then 8. It's just like, not much. You just don't know what Derek Carr you're going to get. Yep. Same with the Raiders. You don't know what the Raiders you're going to get.
If Derek Carr's good, the Raiders are good. If Derek Carr sucks, the Raiders suck.
Mm-hmm. So, that's our number 2 bust. I don't know. Derek Carr just drives me nuts. I have him in 1 league. I have to play him because it's either him or Cam Newton, who's a joke as well.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Number 3, I'm gonna put we'll just throw a bunch. You got Matt Ryan, like 11.9 points against Carolina defense. They did win the game.
You have Trevor Lawrence with 1 point against the Titans defense.
I did not even see that. Yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence. He threw 4 picks?
Yep. 4 interceptions.
Number 1, I don't know.
Had 40 attempts, 24 completions, no touchdowns for 4 interceptions.
To me, it's just, if you're on the Jags team, you got, like, the shining star there was James Robinson. Now you're looking at...
And they stopped running. The whole Urban Meyer needs to go. I'm done with Urban Meyer already.
It's been a year. Not even a full year.
I think that you can't just... Are you expecting the next year, like, he comes out and they're like, yeah, the Jaguars will be pretty good? No.
They're the best
like, get him out of there. He's done. He's not good. I think it's just bad for Trevor Lawrence. He stays there. Lawrence is not going to do anything in this league. You need someone there that can actually talk to NFL people and doesn't treat everyone like he's on a pedestal.
I'm a winner. You're all losers. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just interesting to see there with him. And one thing we got to talk about, Panthers, terrible. Cam Newton is a joke of a quarterback.
Our over 7.5 wins. I thought we had a chance because
it's looking tough.
It's not going to happen.
Well, they're 5 and whatever.
Yep.
Or 6.
No, they're 5. They have 5 wins.
5 wins, and we started off 4-0.
4-0. Yep.
It's Cam Newton's brutal. I don't know. Sam Darnold sucks too, so you don't really know what's gonna go on there. But
and they even had an easy
they
schedule.
Played some bad teams,
and they just can't. I don't get the whole Cam Newton thing. PJ Walker was fine. kept it in there, do red zone, bring Cam Newton.
I think that Cam Newton's inside the 10 quarterback. He is not a quarterback. He's an inside the 10. I'm 260 pounds. I'm a quarterback. I'm athletic as shit. This is what I'm going to do.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Well, I understand the whole...
The trial's over. They pulled him
it's
twice
done.
Now. It's got to be done.
Yeah.
You got to switch to P.J. Walker, and you got to hope Darnold can play maybe next week. And if you're a fantasy owner, I mean, Robbie Anderson is scoring points now. DJ Moore's getting a lot of targets, but the balls are just atrocious, so it's just hard to trust him. So that's going to round out our quarterbacks bust of the week. Our running back bust, starting with number 1. We already talked about him, James Robinson, 0.4 points. He only had 6 rushes, 0.4 points though.
Did he get hurt? I didn't watch this game.
No, he did not.
I did not think so. I think for some reason Urban Meyer has this thing with Carlos Hyde as well, where he wants to give him the ball, and it makes no sense. That's the thing. Urban Meyer has his guys, and
Urban Meyer's an idiot.
He's not playing the best players. He's just being an idiot, and the Jaguars. If you want to do something, you got to let him go.
Urban Meyer is a great college football coach, and that's where he needs to stay.
Yeah, it's tough.
But yeah, so I don't know. They need to start running the ball. They need to help Trevor Lawrence a little bit. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to do with him there. So that was our number 1. Number 2, here's Kareem Hunt, 5 rush yards, 13 receiving yards. We can count that he got hurt as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We got Zeke with 9 points against the football team.
Zeke, and then before we got to Zeke, I had Antonio Gibson, 4.1 points against the Cowboys.
Yep.
Without J.D. McKissick. His counterpart, Jared Patterson, actually outperforms him.
Antonio Gibson, I think he's still a good running back. It's just not his year.
No.
I think
this offense they need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback.
Yep.
And
McLaurin didn't do anything, and I guess he was just got hurt. I don't know what happened, but
McLaurin,
yeah,
he got a late concussion. Heineke looked brutal.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, but they almost won the game. That's the crazy thing.
With our third, I don't know. To me, it's just NFL teams have to figure out. If you look at like the Packers, why are they successful? They get the ball to their best player. You look at the Cardinals. Why are they good? They give the ball to their best player. Same with the Rams. They're giving the ball to their best player.
Same with the Bucks.
Same with the Bills.
The guys that are not doing good, they give to the guys that are doing good.
It's not a hard recipe. You need to give the ball to your best players if you want to be successful. Yep. So, like, if I'm the Washington football team, I'm hammering Gibson and I'm hammering McLaurin. Those are my top 2 guys. If I'm Detroit, Hawkinson needs to be a focal point at all times. Like, Mark Andrews does whatever he does. The Chiefs has Kelsey. Everybody knows he's getting the ball, but he still balls out each week in and week out. So to me, it's just like, it drives me nuts with the NFL that they do this stuff. It's like, find the best player, move him around, get him involved as much as you can. Like Adams, he doesn't just line up outside, he rotates. He goes inside, he goes outside.
Yep.
But like, you look at McLaurin, he's a strictly outside guy for them. And it's just like, you're setting them up to fail and everything. But yeah, so that's 2. You have, like you said, Joe Mixon, 8.8 points. Ezekiel Elliott, 9 points. Without Pollard, you expected Zeke to be kind of taking over this game. Didn't really do anything.
Nope.
So just something to keep an eye out for going forward. I don't know. Zeke's just looked bad. Mixon, I think, will be back.
I think so too. He had so many games of having 2 touchdowns. Just had that.
It was bound
to happen.
Game, so.
And the 49ers defense is
they're not great against the run, but they're okay.
He has a tough matchup. He has Denver, then Baltimore, and then Kansas City. So it's gonna be tough for Joe Mixon, but I think he'll be okay.
I agree. So that is our running back bust. Let's go ahead and slide into wide receivers. Starting with the guy we already talked about, Terry McLaurin, 0 points.
Mm-hmm.
Got hurt in I think it was like the 4th quarter or late 3rd. It is what it is. Can't really go without much, but it's just a disappointment if you have him. He's a guy you drafted in the 3rd round, probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, and he's just, I don't know. He has great games, and then he's non-existent. So Terry McLaurin hops up there to me as the biggest bust this week. Number 2, then Darnell Mooney for the
Bears.
Bears
Yeah,
has kind of worked his way into that number 1 role, but only put up 1 reception, 19 yards against.
I think that was the first drive too, like one of the first catches.
I think so too.
Of the game.
He didn't really do anything outside of that, and like Robinson has been a huge disappointment. That team in general is just a huge disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like Mooney's a guy who's slowly worked into being the top role there.
Yep.
And then next guy here is Jerry Judy.
Yeah, I was about to talk about him. He's just been, since he got back from his injury, just pretty disappointing because you drafted him kind of later, expecting him to be that sleeper pick. And I know it was a high ankle sprain.
Yes.
So that's always hard to come off of. So you don't really think how healthy he is, but just really hasn't done anything for that team.
No, he's just more of a decoy at this point for him, I think.
But the thing is, they're just running the ball. Like Sutton's not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're just running with Gordon and Williams the whole time. So whatever works for him, like
if it ain't broke, don't fix
yeah.
it. You know?
But like I know people out there, like I had Jerry Judy. I was really big on him being like a good sleeper, and just it's pretty disappointing. So yeah, I agree. It's definitely a bust.
And then you got like guys Julio. I feel like this week he'll have a huge week because second week back off injury, he's got to perform eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you never know. He's Julio. DK down week 8 points. Marquise Brown 9, and then like
you can almost think Tyreek Hill. He's 99% rostered, only had 11 points. For a team that put up 48 points, is kind of.
And Debo, you're looking at all these guys who are usually at the top of the list now down here. So.
Cool.
Something to keep an eye out for going forward for sure. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the wide receiver position, who wins and loses some playoffs. So that is our boom/bust for the week. Do you have any other guys you just want to throw out?
Not really. Like we talked about Kelsey for tight ends, only giving up 5 points. Zach Ertz only 9 points.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty big. That was pretty disappointing for the Cardinals.
Huge disappointment.
So because the whole offense just doesn't look good right now. Hopkins doesn't look great. No one's really standing out besides James Conner on that offense. Which at the beginning of the season it was all pass, and now it's all run. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can turn that around or not. And the weird thing is about the Cardinals, they're 7-0 on the road. It's at home where they're having all these turnovers, all these like issues.
Weird.
It's very
Kyler
very
does
weird.
Weird. He did not look like Kyler last night.
No.
So something to keep an eye out for there. Let's go ahead and slide into Thursday. We got a Thursday night game. We got 2 Saturday games, which is always a nice surprise.
Yep.
And then Sunday games as well. You're looking at Thursday night. You got the Chiefs at the Chargers. Chiefs -3. I kind of like Chiefs -3 right here. The defense has come alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like I feel like a good team. Sometimes you just need your defense to really pick it up, carry you for a couple weeks, and then let that offense kind of slowly figure out what they're doing. And I think this is kind of what's happening with the Chiefs right now, and I like Chiefs -3. I think that defense has stepped up in a big way, running against the run and against the pass. I just think Chiefs I think they're better than Chargers. Chargers have been super inconsistent, but I think Keenan Allen is coming off COVID list. I think I just got an update about that. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But still, I just think Chiefs right now are rolling too much, kind of like the Patriots have been. So I like Chiefs here at -3. What's the over-under set at?
51.5.
That's a lot of points. I feel like that's a little high.
Yeah, I think it opened up at 48 or 49, so it's going up. This one's tough because the Chargers lose here, they're done for the division. So if they win, they'll both be 9-5.
Yeah.
So
it's in LA.
I like the Chiefs. I think I'm going Chiefs.
You look at LA.
LA home team doesn't matter here. I think there's probably going to be more Chiefs fans than anything. They're looking good on the road. So I like the Chiefs here. I think they'll cover this -3. Should be pretty easy. And I don't like taking away favorites. It just hasn't worked out in prime time. But I think this is one game where
I feel like this is where they're coming and they're gonna. This might be like a Chiefs are both back.
Yeah.
Like They're coming back. They're going for it. That's what I would take Chiefs here. I think Kelsey has a big game. I take it over his yards, and I would give him a touchdown. I feel like this is a game where he steps up. Coming off a bad week, I'm taking Kelsey over receiving yards and then touchdown for sure. And then kind of seeing what the Chiefs do from there. Hill, I feel like this is a game where he goes off too. But I expect Allen to also be featured a lot.
Yeah, I can also see in this one seeing Williams and Hilaire having a touchdown.
Yep.
Because Chargers are not that good against the run, and they've been really using both of those just kind of randomly. Williams isn't consistently in the red zone. He's kind of like he has his own drive, and then Clyde has his own drive, and so I can see both of them scoring a touchdown again like they did last week.
Yeah. Williams have dropped off a lot. Kind of
Mike Williams,
did his thing.
Yep.
But I expect Keenan Allen to come back and just take over that number 1 role spot. I think watch Palmer. He's a guy to keep an eye out for who kind of balled out last week. Just watch for him to kind of be featured a little bit more. Eckler, I think. I don't know. I think Eckler's just Eckler. I think the Chiefs' defense is better, so you might see a little bit of disappointing out of the Chargers' offense. Yeah. But if the Chargers' offense can get it going, then I think this is going to be a shootout. Then that overhits pretty easily. Close. Yeah, I just like Chiefs here. I just feel like you got to go with the Chiefs. They're just too good with what they've been doing. If the Chargers won, it wouldn't really shock me. Just because Chargers can do random things like this.
It's crazy because the Chargers haven't played that good, but if they win this, they're tied with the Chiefs for the division.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So that's what makes me think the Chargers aren't going to do that this year. I think this is where the Chiefs win and take control of that division.
What worries me is throwing it back to Pittsburgh Chargers, where they allow Big Ben to score 24 points in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
To me, that's crazy. So, I don't know. I like Chiefs here. Kelsey, I think, over receiving yards. Touchdown, Allen, over receiving yards, and probably touchdown too.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all the props I'm going to take. I'm taking the Chiefs. And that's really, unless the line moves dramatically, I'm not touching the Chargers. I just don't trust them a lot. We both picked them kind of be the sleeper pick to win the division, so that would be cool. But yeah, Chiefs, I have Super Bowl champ.
I have the Bills and the Packers, which the Packers are the only one that's looking good right now.
But hey, Bills can do it. You never know. So, but yeah, that's all I have for picks. Do you have any other props?
No, I just went Hilaire touchdown. That's all I'm doing.
We will catch you on the next episode, which is our matchup preview. We'll do first 6 games and 6 games, and then so check us out and everything. Keep posted, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Deuces.
See ya.